Just wanted to let everybody know on YouTube that me and my wife have gotten back on the Twitter. I'm trying to kind of put an outreach out there. Maybe, might be able to run across some things. But, you know, one thing I will say there is a higher risk of meeting a fake celebrity on you. I mean, not YouTube, but on Twitter. I ran into one today. I knew they were fake because this so-called Mandy Rose, which she only went by Mandy. Also, I looked down further. She had no tweets. She had no things. She's on here lying to me earlier about being on Raw or SmackDown, whatever it was. SmackDown, yeah, SmackDown. And because she said, "Are you a big fan of mine?" She started out like that, and I said, "I don't know. I haven't. I don't think I've ever seen." I thought, well, at first I thought it was one of them independent wrestlers. I could see that the picture she had on there was of her and with a belt that was not of WWE. I could tell that much. And at first, I thought it might have been a NXT or maybe like I said, somebody off Independence. I know what the WWE belts look like, and I know she hasn't had a belt in at no time in WWE, and I don't watch it like I used to. But um, I've been tweeting out there, putting some stuff out. Why I don't like me and my wife don't like the wrestling today. You know, Vince treats his fans and calls them WWE Universe when it's fans or fanatics, to be blunt, honest here. He treats us like garbage. He ain't had a pay per view for us to vote on matches or stipulations or anything in over 15 years. And the one or two times he spotly did it for Raw, back in 2011 or 2014 or whatever it was, the last one was, and they were very few, far between. But, you know, it's been almost 7, 8 years now. We wonder why people don't watch the wrestling. Not just cause that everybody knows it's a work and it's fake. It's supposed to be a work. It's supposed to be fake. It's not supposed to be real. If it was real, everybody get killed in there. If they just went in there and didn't care about nobody, it's not the whole thing. That's why my grandmother was right about one thing. It is a traveling circus. But, the wrestling as a whole today have lost 8 million people or around that. Back in the 90s, especially during the Attitude Era and up to around about 5 or 6, 7 years ago, they had still 5, 6, 7 years ago, they still had about 2, 3 million people watching. But these last 4 or 5 years, somewhere between 2016 on up, they have drastically declined because they've gotten rid of the old formulas that worked. When they didn't have all these writers writing all these dang gun promos, and I had mentioned on Twitter that one of the major issues with wrestling is they have the WWE's problem is they have Vince. Vince went public in 1999 with his company and got on the New York Stock Exchange for money. Well, now not only has he screwed himself, and he knows this to be true, not only has he screwed himself out of being a wrestling company that could thrive and could do a lot of things being privately. You know, he might not get as much. He might not get as much attention. They might not get as much, you know, big offers from TV and all that if he's not public. But they managed for a long time, even before '99. They managed right. The hottest period for wrestling was '97 to '98 before Vince went public in '99. When they did that, they fucked it up. They at first you didn't really notice it and you didn't see it right off, but you knew that probably in time that it was going to get there. I mentioned how they mistreated the women's thing on TV. How me and my wife we spotly watch it, and if we do watch it, we usually go back and watch. You know, we watch it when it's not really on. We'll just go back and watch the replay, which you can do on regular TV nowadays with your cable. They give you the option of going back and watching it on the TV, but no, that's the thing. The wrestling as a whole now barely averages over 500, 600,000 people at best. They might get 700, 800,000 a couple times, but they average about 500,000 people. That is not a lot when you consider there used to be 5, 6, 7, 8 million people watch wrestling through the hottest periods. Even as far as the '80s go, I bet they were more then than they are right now. Like I said, they're suffering. AEW is about the best product out there on major TV. Is it going to compete with Vince McMahon? No. But at the same time, it wouldn't make any real difference. If they did, they'd just be falling back in that hole. And then there'd be a lot of people who wouldn't be able to work because a lot of these wouldn't go back to WWE because it's a lot of the WWE cast offs like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, amongst others, a whole list of them. Cody Rhodes. Like I said, it's all WWE. It's like the WWE toilet bowl. I heard somewhere that CM Punk's deal will be up in like 2023 or 2024. So by the time you've had 3 years of him and 3 years of Daniel Bryan, or that was Daniel Bryan's, but I'm assuming CM Punk's is probably around that same time frame. He's already in his early 40s. I'm a few years behind him, but he, a lot of these people they don't have no storylines, no direction. The whole 24/7 titles a joke. The whole it was a knockoff of the hardcore title. They tried to bring back, WWE tried to bring back the women's tag belts from the '80s. Tried to bring back a whole fresh new thing and try it again. After almost 30 years of not seeing it on TV, they try to bring that back. And at the current rate to keep releasing people, and they keep saying, "Oh, it's budget cuts, Derek." It's not budget cuts. It's what the fucking problem is. They've got all these fucking old timers like Taker and Goldberg and Brock and all these other people. They bring back usually around the Royal Rumble and starting on into WrestleMania. They always try to bring something back, Or who else can we bring back to pay them millions of dollars? I mean, he just signed freaking Taker to like a 15-year deal to do nothing but sit on his ass at home. Vince will pay him to sit home and do nothing. Or occasionally maybe call him up and say, "Oh, look, Taker, you sold $1,000 in merchandise sitting on your ass at the house." What the fuck? That's where your money's going. I mean, it's not like he's going to wrestle anymore. And if he does, it's going to be very little. And by the time that damn contract runs out, if he don't die first, he'll be 70 years old by this time. You got people like Goldberg who can come in and do a 2-minute match, and generally that's all you get out of Goldberg. So you got Rock, you got Cena, Cena, he's a movie star, so is Rock, but I mean, when they bring them back, there's another $2 million off the table. They bring all these back, and like I said, to do the Hall of Fame stuff, and they pay them. They don't even pay them Hall of Famers, I bet, nowhere near that type of money. But certain ones that they want really bad, there's where all your money's going. There's why you're seeing all the releases. WWE don't want you to know this, but if you're a WWE fan, this is exactly what's going on. And they've got, they took Triple H out of the NXT thing. He's not really involved in it no more. It's a curse whenever they bring up anybody other than Becky and Charlotte and Bayley and some of them others. There was about 4 or 5 they've used for the last 7 years, 6, 7 years. They've run them to death, and it's just trading belts back and forth. The same ones, and then the few that I haven't mentioned, they're either lower on the card, or in Paige's case, you can't wrestle. There's another person under contract that's not been released, but it's still getting paid to do nothing. Pretty much nothing. And somebody said, well, Derek, you might have gave him a job in the back as a producer. Or yeah, but how many of those fucking producer people do you need? It's not like they don't have enough people running around back there as it is, writing shitty promos and stuff that the wrestlers wouldn't even say, but are forced to go out there and say. That's why I'm saying, if I were to be a wrestler today, or want to be a commentator, or if I had any interest in WWE whatsoever, it'd practically be out the window. Because there's no way that, unless they get rid of Vince and Shane and Stephanie and all them McMahons, unless they get rid of all that and get rid of the crap that's held them down, get rid of this kid stuff, that New Day stuff. When they started that 7 years ago, God Lord, it's killed WWE. Kids like us grew up, and we grew to like the product because there was some realistic stuff going on. There was some storylines being told that were really, really good, and stuff you could see people saying. But you get all this kid stuff, and they try to tell you, that we matter, that our opinions matter, and we don't. I mean, we're just a profit. We pay the tickets, we buy the merchandise. If we do that, I don't, but my wife don't. But we're just a spoke on the wheel to give them more money. So as long as there's 25, 30,000 people willing to go in there these days and sit in there and watch this fucking bullshit, that's really nothing but a bunch of damn people on fucking trampolines jumping and hopping around, injuring themselves, was another thing. Wrestling is not something that you can change a whole lot and get a pop chant once in a blue moon and make it work. You're hurting yourself. You're doing all these dives and flips off the ring and out in the crowds and all this other bull. It's exciting, but like I said, it ought to be, I agree with Jim Cornette, it ought to be used in a spot that is reserved for a pay-per-view or a big lead up to a match or something huge. It's okay to do one of them moves every now and again, But you see it with every wrestler these days. You see how they treat them on there. And I know I just kind of wanted to come out, come out and put my thoughts out there about what I've been doing on my Twitter, me and my wife's Twitter. But anyway, we've had a good day. You know, my wife, she's at church, so ain't a whole lot more to talk about. But I just gonna warn fans: please do not go to these wrestling shows. Do not attack these wrestlers. They're not asking for your money. If there is any social media out there, if it's a famous woman wrestler or a famous male wrestler on TV, please do not. It's like they said, do not try these moves at home. Do not. I warn people now, do not think just because there's pictures of their stuff on there, do not think that you're getting the real person. They would not. A real wrestler that makes millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks. I don't know when they pay them or how they pay them, but I'm just saying, or if it's once a month or however it is they pay them, which it's probably not that. I'd say every week or every 2 weeks. But what I'm saying, in part-timers, it would be just per appearance. But do not go out there and do like this idiot did Seth Rollins. I don't care if you know what their real name is. I don't care. I'm just saying, I don't want to see anybody get hurt over this fucking foolishness that these fucking fans want to believe that. I have met a few wrestlers in my time. Very few, but I have met like William Regal. I paid for a fan ticket, $10. That's all it cost was $10. I got to meet William Regal personally. I asked him 1 or 2 questions. He answered them, and then he asked me one or 2. And I answered him. He quizzed me on one of them. And but anyway, I just warned against that. Please do not. If they're at the Hall of Fame, do not be, don't be attacking these people or trying any foolish shit. Because the only thing you're going to do is get yourself in hot water, and then you ain't going to be able to go to any more wrestling events, and you're just going to look like the biggest fool. WWE does need to do one thing. They need to up their security at these shows and quit being so lazy. They used to have security people, when you'd see them turn the stuff on. But it's ridiculous. I mean, you just saw the other day on the wrestling news thing. Poor Alexa Bliss, real name Lexi. I won't give her last name. I don't even know how to pronounce it anyway. But she was on there, and I went to go verify, that she was the real one that I was following. And she warned people not to, if you see her on Instagram or any other thing, she's only got a Twitter. She said this is the only one that she's got. So if you're a fan of Alexa Bliss, she ain't got but one profile, and it's the one me and my wife have got on ours that we follow. A lot of these real celebrities, they will not allow you to private message them on Twitter, but you can leave a comment or something down there below. But please do not. And I like I said, I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I hate seeing wrestlers have to go out there and fear for their life. It's bad enough as it is. They're doing something that they want to be doing, and fans are only supposed to be fans. They're only supposed to chant, cheer, boo, whatever. You ain't supposed to be jumping over guardrails and acting like a jackass. I mean, it's one thing if they told you, hey, you're going to be part of the script tonight. They picked you out of the audience and you had a little something to do with the show, and they paid you a little sum of money for participating that night, okay. But no, otherwise, don't do that. I mean, if it's not something they came up with, and it's not, I mean, they don't do it anymore. I don't think. I remember one time there was a fan as probably, what was it, about 10 years ago, I'm guessing. The last time I remember seeing anybody get, looks like where they got paid, there was this thing out in the crowd where, oh man, they're tired and wore out.
Yeah, I'm walking back that way and knocked the phone out of me.
Oh man, you got a bag?
God, here's some stuff.
Oh. B, what now? What's that?
Food.
Food. Oh. Well, I'm gonna get off here now. I might eat. I hadn't ate yet today. Well, I'll make another one later.